be doing a seminar for trolling contour lines for walleye.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, what I'm going to talk about today is contour trolling. And basically, what I'm going to cover in great detail is contour trolling for walleye. A little bit about my background is I fished professional walleye tournaments in the U.S. I've done the PWT, and now it's called AIM. It's an AIM circuit down in the U.S. And we spend lots of time contour trolling for walleye. One of the main reasons that you want to contour troll is that walleye like to relate to structure. And the easiest way to find them or dissect a lake is use contours. And all a contour is really simple. It's really a big word for something really simple. It's wherever you have a change in depth. It used to be 5 years ago, anything that was 3 feet you focus on. With technology today, we do a lot of lakes, a lot of bodies of water I fish. We have maps that are literally 1 foot contour lines. So we have really, really detailed information. I'm going to cover that a bit later, but basically thanks to technology and mapping chips we can buy for our units now, mainly the Navionics charts, you can dissect a lake really quickly, and contour trolling is actually pretty simple. All right? One of the main things is I'd say 90% of the people here most likely fish from the back of the boat. That's what I'm going to cover today. There's lots of fancy techniques from the bow of the boat, but myself, it was only a few years ago that I stopped using a tiller motor and back trolling. The only reason I switched is in the tournament world, we have a problem now with what we call range. So if we can't run a 300 horse and go, 75 miles one way to fish, well, you can't really compete. So we all had to switch out to the console boats that gave us the range, and then we fished from the bow. But me personally, if I had my choice, and I wasn't tournament fishing at all, and I was just recreational fishing on my local lake, I'd go with the tiller motor. And the reason is I got great control of the boat. I can back the boat up nice and slow and follow the contours. All right, so first thing I'm going to talk about is the actual contour maps and the maps that I like to use. So what you got, thanks to technology now, if anybody hasn't seen it yet, you definitely want to check it out, is we can do contour maps right here on our iPhones now. All right, this is pretty cool technology, and the thing that's really neat about it is that on any body of water, I can be anywhere, pull up the map, as long as there's mapping data for that lake, see the contours, and it shows me where I am on the map, and all I got to do is steer my boat along the contours. And usually the golden rule for walleye is anywhere in the spring, we're going into what I call like the changeover in the summer. So you're looking basically for that 6 feet to 18 feet. You're going to be on one of those contours somewhere in between. Usually if you start around the 12 to 15 foot mark, odds are you're going to start marking some fish. During the day they're going to move up or they're going to move down. As long as you stay in that ballpark, you'll be good. As the summer gets a bit later, they'll actually start to drop off steeper breaks. Then once you get into actual fall season, I usually tell everybody to look for that 25 to 30 foot mark. All right? It's pretty simple. All you have to do is follow the contour lines on the maps. All right? Just like highways. Most of us have GPS. How many people have GPSs in their cars now or a vehicle? Lots of people. That's the cool thing now. Using these map charts from Navionics on your iPhone or in your actual GPS unit that's mounted on your boat, you can just follow them. It's like driving a car. You can just kind of move along, follow a little. And the cool thing is, they're not highways that we drive on, but they're highways that fish follow. Okay? And what I mean by that, walleye are either eating, basically hanging out, what we call in a neutral state, or they're traveling. So all those contours under the water when you see them, those are actually walleye highways. All right? So they use those to move around and maneuver and go to their next location, maybe chase down some bait fish. So just remember that when you're out there fishing for them. One of the techniques I like to use is bottom bouncing. Anybody hear bottom bounce for walleye? Yeah, it's a pretty popular technique. Usually what I use on this, I didn't bring any today because there's no walleye in the tank. So basically what I did is I just brought a simple bottom bouncer here. And all we usually do is we have a piece of line on here, 3 feet, 4 feet, just depending on how far back you want it. Just a tip. If you're standing up a lot, shorten it up. There's lots of times I'll be walleye fishing. I only got a 1 foot leader on there with a spinner blade and a crawler. That's all you need. Lots of brush, lots of stuff. Shorter the lead, the less you're going to hang up on bottom. So one of the key techniques with bottom bouncing is, I'll put this down there, see that? The bass. Bass are super curious. Hopefully I don't catch one on the bouncer. So basically what you want to do is you'll see how the bouncer kind of moves along. You want it to bounce. Lots of times when I'm out, especially when I'm guiding, I got clients, oh, I'm not getting any bites. Well, because you're dragging your bouncer. Bouncer doesn't do much good when it's down like that on the bottom. Because of course your line and everything else is all on the bottom. Every once in a while, you just want it to tip. Another cool technique with bottom bouncing is now that you can actually see it in the water. Because I'm not moving my rod tip much, but look how much depth I can cover. You can cover a lot of the water column just by lifting the tip, right? There's lots of days out in the water. I'm sure many people here that fish walleye have experienced it. But you'll be out in rough waves and the walleye are really on. Well, it's not as much the waves that's got them turned on, it's the action of your bait in the water, especially if you're bottom bouncing. Because every time the boat goes up a wave, your bottom bouncer is going up 2 or 3 feet in the water and then back down, up, back down. So when the bait pauses and goes, looks like a wounded minnow. It's just a simple, and the walleye are like, oh, look, wounded minnow, I'm going to eat it tomorrow. All right? So that's just another thing to pay attention to. When you're bottom bouncing, it's bouncing. It's not dragging. You don't want that bouncer laying on the bottom. Okay, if it's laying on the bottom, it's not going to do anything. So it's just a nice bouncing technique. Every once in a while, you want it to tick. It's kind of hard because I can't physically move. I guess I could run along the edge of the tank. I have a hunch I'll end up swimming. So the other thing with contour trolling is, what's really cool with the mapping data, is that you can also separate the data by color. And what I mean by that is if anybody later on wants to come over to the booth, I can actually show you on the charts where you can mark the data so at 18 feet is a blue, okay? So everything 18 feet and shallower is blue on the chart. Everything 18 feet and deeper is white, where you can change it to have like a different color of blue. So really, what it allows you to do is dissect the lake really quickly. And usually the golden rule, not all the time, but you get out on a body of water and you're bottom bouncing and you're working along the contour line and you're catching fish at 12 feet, usually you're going to catch fish at 12 feet that whole day anywhere on the lake. So you can imagine if you can take your map and separate the color, you can just sit back and go, oh look, let's go over to the North Shore because there's this big 12-foot break all the way along there. You just head over there and fish and almost every time you'll catch it. And usually that's a technique we use a lot in tournaments, is we have areas. We don't have the spot on the spot. We just know, okay, everywhere there's a 12-foot break line, we know where they are on the body of water. Because if we're catching them in one location, we're just going to hit every one of those as we pass them. We're not going to run all over the lake in different directions. But as we do it in a rotation, we'll stop at every one of those spots and fish them.